Yeah, hey, Wood-psyche here. Hope everyone's doing good. Just wrapping up this last video of the skull. Looks like it's going to turn out pretty good. Anyway, I'm just having a good time here, putting the details in with the Dremel Stylo Plus low torque Dremel machine. Yeah, I'm using the diamond burr, spherical burr on these to smooth out the details, so it's not rough edges. Kind of taking an assessment look here, seeing what needs to be done. Hit it with some steel wool, which I use quite often, commonly referred to as wire wool in the UK. One of my favorites. Makes a big difference for finishing touches. I use a variety of diamond burrs. This one's a tapered tip for all the tight spots. Comes in quite handy for smoothing out the details. You have to flip this thing over a few times just to get into the different areas. Yeah, I got a lead on from one of my subscribers, Michael LaFleur. He was mentioning ruby burrs as being longer lasting. So I'm going to give that a shot, see what those are all about. I'm pretty sure they'll be pretty reliable. So I anticipate using those in the future here pretty soon. It's just a matter of time before I go ahead and order some. But there's all kinds of tools out there you can use. Problem is, like, which ones to choose. So it's always good to have recommended products. Word of mouth usually is a good start. Yeah, the skull is going to have all its teeth intact. And I'm going to be working on the lower mandible really soon here to complete the jaw. Yeah, as I mentioned in the previous video, this piece of wood is a lodgepole pine. It's basically been killed by the bark beetles that seem to have infested the West Coast quite a bit, causing a lot of widespread damage to coniferous forests in general. And they kill trees usually by entering the bark, boring into the bark, and then making tunnels all along the substructure of the bark, which supplies nutrients and water for the tree. The beetles basically suffocate the tree by literally removing the path for nutrients and water up the length of the tree. You guys read about the types of beetles that kill the pine trees. Basically, there's two types. Ones that go after the wounded or sickened or weakened trees, and the other ones that just go for live trees, like insidiously, no matter what state the tree's in, if it's healthy or not. So it's a pretty widespread problem on the West Coast. If you want to read more about the problem with the beetles, Wikipedia has a really good article explaining the basics on the beetle and their impact on the ecology of the West Coast. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to switch over now and talk about what I'm doing here right now. I'm using the generic Dremel with a larger Saburrtooth burr, spherical type, just to work on the lower mandible here now. And I'm going to be completing the lower portion of the skull rather quickly. It's not going to take too long. I'll speed things up here a bit, so spare the agony of real-time video. which would be quite long. Because this project topped out over like 3 hours in length. So it took a bit of time, but it's well worth it. Yeah, switch over these carbide burrs. They're forney burrs from made in Italy, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But they're perfect for working on teeth. This one in particular is like almost like a flame style burr, but it's carbide. And I'm not sure if it's necessarily made for woodworking, but I use it anyway. I think it's for metal too as well. But sometimes you got to break the rules and use things that are not meant to be for certain things as a word of experimentation. It's always good. It's kind of ironic using the burrs on the teeth here, much like the dentists use in the real life situations when they're restoring people's teeth. I think they use a different kind of Dremel system though. They're probably using the air system, which is like super high RPM for their Dremel style tools. But here we're only relegated to the basic hobby Dremel, which works fine as it is. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing an articulated lower mandible on this, but like as far as time concerned, I'm not having the time to do that, so I'll have to work on that kind of project at a later date. It would be kind of interesting if I could pull that one off. So maybe for Halloween I'll probably maybe make an effort to do that. I like to toss in some sanding here and there as well. It's part of the process that I follow just to get a general idea of the piece, visually speaking, just so I can be self-assured that things are going to be all right in the final stage. Here we got, if you notice in the background, there's a little dog in the background. I've been house sitting, so this guy's named is Simon. He was in a video a long while back. So anyway, he's a shadow dog, never leaves your side, more or less. So very dedicated doggy, I'd say. Yeah, using some 80 grit sandpaper here to smooth off the Dremel work that I did previously with the Saburrtooth. Saburrtooth leaves some kind of rough marks on the surface. It's because it's a coarse bit. So basically I'm going over with the sandpaper to remove the evidence of a Saburrtooth. Yeah, I've heard this belief where people don't use sandpaper on their final products. It's some kind of creed with the whittlers or knife carvers, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not one to follow those kind of rules. I'll use anything at my disposal to get the job done. You know, I just don't like to be pigeonholed, more or less, and it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, no offense intentional to anyone that's adverse to using any kind of abrasives on their piece, so we'll keep it at that. Looks like the beast is getting restless. It looks like he's signaling that we're almost done with this project, it looks like. So he's an alpha dog, I guess, so he's telling me what to do, more or less. So this video will come to an end pretty soon here, as per Simon says. Even though Mr. Simon might be a little bit restless, we're not completely finished with this skull just yet. I have to round off the back end a little bit at the base of the skull just to give it more dynamic. Upon closer inspection, it just didn't seem right having a flat cylindrical back to it, so just a final tweak, more or less, just to give it some added visual to the piece. So it looks like we got a wrap here. I'm going to call it quits on this one. Call it finished, more or less. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as much as I enjoyed carving the piece. So questions or comments, leave them in the section down below, and I'll be happy to answer any concerns or questions you might have. So anyway, take care, have a great one. See you on the next one.